So I've been trying to keep up with the latest animes that are coming out this year, and like I said in my previous video, there's just not enough time for me to watch it. With university work, Twitch streaming and making other content, I simply don't have the time to watch anime anymore. But I have been setting aside time for myself at least once a week where I'll sit down either by myself or with my followers on Discord where we all just watch an anime together. Because having that day where I can just sit back, relax, not think about work, content or my life, it just allows me to get lost in the beauty of anime. That is until I discovered that there's another Ava movie that came out last year. And when I saw it, my reaction was basically just this. Oh fuck, that's another Ava movie. Oh fuck, that's another Ava movie. Now, if you're an anime fan, but you've been living under a rock, and let's face it, you're an anime fan, so you either live in a pit, a cave, or your own self-hatred, you would have heard of the show Neon Genesis Evangelion. But I'll give you a little refresh of basically what the plot of the show is. Get in the robot, Shinji.
What? No.
Get in the robot, Shinji.
No.
Get in the goddamn fucking robot right now! If that didn't help, then I'll explain a little more. Neon Genesis Evangelion is a show about these violent monsters called angels that began to attack the Earth so they can destroy humanity. The Japanese government began experimenting and figuring out ways to fight these so-called angels. Cue the Ava Project and their pilot. The Avas are basically these giant mechs that are piloted by the special children, one of them being the son of the guy who is the head of the Ava Project. The show is basically just, here's a giant monster, here's a robot, now fight. Oh, and you know, a bunch of deep fucking meanings that I'm not smart enough to deep dive into. If I had to say one thing about this show before I get into the meat of this video pie, it is Neon Genesis Evangelion is a fucking mess. Neon Genesis Evangelion Thrice Upon a Time 3.0 plus 1.0 is the 6th Evangelion movie to come out. If you've not heard of the previous films, then I'll list them off for you. So we have Neon Genesis Evangelion Death and Rebirth, Neon Genesis Evangelion The End of Evangelion, Evangelion 1.0 You're Not Alone, Evangelion 2.0 You Cannot Advance, Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo. Thrice Upon a Time opens up with a recap which is just flashbacks of clips from the previous films, and because it's been 3 fucking years since the last one, I've got no clue what's going on currently. Apparently in the previous movies, a bunch of people died because of another near world ending event, called The Third Impact. We spend the start of this movie with Shinji and not Rei as they're starting to adjust to a more normal life where they don't have to fight giant monsters all the time. However, Shinji isn't doing too good. He's struggling with PTSD as he can't stop thinking about the death of his friends and everyone's lives he's ruined. The trauma's so severe that anything that reminds him of it causes him to throw up or just have a panic attack. To me, I think it's perfect as it shows just how awful his life has been over the past few years and the amount of scarring it's left on his mind. The weight of the world on his shoulders, the pressure from his father to get into the robot and always finish the mission, to the weight of his friends' lives always in his hands. He's a boy fighting the battle of giants, and every time he fails, it drives another knife into him, which will be a constant reminder of how he messed up and how he can never save them again. And how he can never make up for what he's done. Every choice, every decision he makes has a big impact on everyone's lives, not just his own. Not Rei, on the other hand, well, at the start of the movie, she's learning what it means to truly be human. She asks questions about why we say good morning, goodbye, please, thank you, and I love you. You get to watch her grow as a character and get to see this deep look into the human mind about what these few sayings mean to us. And then...
Goodbye.
she's killed off. I don't know what I expected. Neon Genesis Evangelion does not pull its punches, and honestly, I should have expected this. This is a franchise that's famous for killing off our favorite characters and making endings that are such a mindfuck that it'll make you question your own life. After that death, Asuka is getting ready to leave the small town she's been living in. But then Shinji grows a pair of balls and decides he wants to join her. But he doesn't just want to join her, he wants to join the main fight against his own father who has given up his humanity in order to achieve his goal. What's his goal, you may ask? Well, it's just to see his wife again. Out of every goal an anime villain has had, this one is by far the most relatable one to me. I mean, obviously, it's not the part where he gets to see his wife again, but it's the relatability of where you're willing to do anything to see someone. Especially when it's someone you either have a deep connection to, or someone who's just so important to you that you'll do anything for them. And I think with how the past 2 years have been with COVID, I think a lot of people can relate to this. We couldn't see family, friends, go to parties, or to someone's final moments. And that's why I think a lot of people would agree with Gendo and say he was in the right. His goal was simply just to see his wife again, and to make the world where everyone was one. No hate, no pain, no sadness, one mind, one love, and only happiness. But it's at the cost of millions of people's lives. He's a man who believes the ends justify the means, but because of the world we live in, we all know that the ends never justify the means, especially when you kill millions to achieve that goal. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's just rewind and head back to the middle part of the movie. When we reach the middle part of the film, everyone is getting ready for what I'm going to be calling the final battle. The Ava pilots are geared up, the soldiers are ready and they put their gear on, and the leaders are ready to start this battle. But Shinji is sitting alone in a cell because he's not allowed to pilot the Avas, as he's the one who caused the recent third impact that caused millions to die. He was put in there as a precaution, and every soldier was given the order to shoot him on sight if anyone sees him trying to pilot one of the Avas. The entire time he's in there though, he reflects on his life and how he's been as a person, and we finally get to see this coward who would always run away stand up and admit his flaws to the other pilots before they leave for the final battle. And what a final battle it is. The fight in this film was beyond what I was expecting. With amazing visuals, stunning animation, it literally took my breath away. And it made me watch with anticipation and fear for what was going to happen next. Watching the characters fight, not just for their lives, but the lives of the world, is something we have seen thousands of times in different animes, but never like this. Never in a way where it felt so real, yet so unreal at the same time. But then, when they arrive at the mission location, and they finally get to the objective, Asuka has to make the final play. She gives her life in order to save everyone, but it fails. Once that is over though, we are then shown Gendo, the man who sacrificed his own humanity to achieve his goal. And we also get one of the best scenes, which is this scene right here.
Gods need no barriers. We accept absolutely everything that comes our way.
The way he does it so calmly without being angry shows just how far he's gone and how little humanity he has left. Just before he can leave though, Shinji confronts his own father, who just doesn't care. We just sit there and watch as he jumps into the void to complete his mission, something I think symbolizes how deep he is in his own darkness and his own despair. Everyone has lost hope to win this war, but Shinji, well, he says he's willing to pilot the Ava again, confronting his own fears, his own past, and his own father all at once. But this isn't without consequences though. The soldiers were told to kill him if he ever tries to pilot an Ava. And we all know the saying, good soldiers follow orders. So it leads to a standoff where he nearly gets shot, but Miss Misato takes the bullet for him instead. And if you're wondering why, well, it's because she believes in him, and she believes she's responsible for the destruction he's caused, but most importantly, she trusts him. Shinji, the world's savior and its destroyer. Shinji then steps into the anti-universe where he exists in his memories, and there is where he finally confronts his father and the last stand between humanity and the angels. The final battle that happens is amazing for a multitude of reasons. If you're paying attention to this video, then you'll start noticing the background to the fight looks strange. Almost like a stage that is, reminiscent of the old Godzilla films, and that's because it is. The two Avas continue to fight, one representing hope and the other representing despair. Both perfectly in tune with each other, looking like they'll be locked in an endless battle for the survival of humanity. But the fight stops, because this is not a battle that can be won with violence. It's a fight that is won with talking, understanding, love, and compassion. It's a fight that's going to be stopped, well, with acceptance instead. The son and father talk to each other and are shown Ava imaginary and Ava reality, which I think represents Ava as a whole. Something that is imaginary but made such a, deep impact in the world that it feels real and affects real people's lives. We peek behind the curtain of Ava and see what it truly is. A show being performed on stage. Gendo is finally asked what he truly wants, and all he wants is peace. No fights, no abuse, no rich, no poor, just one mind. He is a man who's grieving. He's a man going insane from his own love. Shinji, on the other hand, instead of yelling at his dad and blaming him for his own mistakes, he gets closer to him and asks about who his father really is, and they discover, well, they're the same. They were both lonely. Both used their headphones to escape the outside world. They were both afraid of being attached to people until they met someone that showed them what it meant to not, well, be alone. He was shown that when you have someone who loves you, you don't want to be alone ever again. But when he finally lost her, he could not live with himself. He could not live without her. And with the two finally talking and understanding each other, we're then shown a shot of Misato killing a fucking god. The music that's playing in this scene is Joy to the World, which is perfectly fitting as we finally get to see the end. The final battle coming to its end. Joy as the torture is finally over. And with God finally being killed and the spear being given to Shinji, he's given one last wish. One wish to choose how the universe will be reset. One wish that will decide the fate of all humanity. One wish that will decide the fate of Neon Genesis Evangelion. With Gendo finally admitting to his faults, apologizing to his son, and finally accepting where his wife was, Kaoru appears after Gendo leaves, and him and Shinji talk and discuss how they have grown, changed, and what the future is going to be. Kaoru, the immortal one, laid to death and birth on the moon, the one who boards the land and the sea. The first angel and the 13th angel finally takes a break and gives Earth to another. The door closes, and all that's left is Rei and Shinji, standing on the stage, talking about how Shinji is going to get rid of all the Avas. A true Neon Genesis. He floats there ready to sacrifice himself, but in one last act from his parents, he's sent away. His mother and father have that one last embrace that they desperately wanted as they wipe out every Ava that exists. This is the goodbye to all Evangelions, as the world is changed so they never existed. It's poetic in a way. To obtain the peace they wanted, they had to sacrifice everything to get it. We then watch as the anime breaks down and slowly devolves, seeing it go from the full anime, to just the line art, to just the animatic, to just the roughs. But then it goes back to a full anime as the final Evangelion is destroyed. Shinji's eyes open up and he's just sitting at the train station. He's more grown up. The other characters there and seem to be living their own lives without being a part of the Avas. They get to be actual people and not just the pilots. They finally grow up and, well, they're free to be in the real world. And with that, we get the outro song as the camera pans across Japan, showing us buildings, peoples, cars. The credits roll and that's it. Now, some of you might be wondering, what does this actually mean? Well, it means the end. That's it. The final and true ending of Neon Genesis Evangelion. The end to an anime that's been running since 1995 when the first episode aired on October 4th. But this is not just an anime that's ending. It's a legacy. It's a legend. Neon Genesis is by far one of the most influential animes to ever exist. And whenever a new installment happens, you know you're in for a good time. But this film was the right ending to one of the most beloved franchises to ever exist. And I could not be more happy with it. Some of you might be wondering what this movie means. And well, it's subjective because this is a piece of art. And how you view it will be different. To me, it's a film about accepting death, the power of love, the silent suffering people go through, the fear of failure, the power of pressure, and finally, what this movie means to me is that everything comes to an end, and that's okay.